Hi everyone, my name is Corrupted-Ciphers, though you already knew that if you clicked into this video. And so I thought it'd be fun to do some redraws and record my thought process on them, because I always find that interesting to find out what artists are thinking, like why they chose this element and whatever. And I don't know if I'm going to be doing a very good job of explaining my thought process, but here we are, I guess. So I've done some in the past where it's been I haven't recorded them, but they've done only a year-old drawing, like the Walter and Naya one I did a while back with the snowy planet and the Cody glitchy thingy. I don't really know what to call it. Those ones were I don't know, only a year old, so it didn't feel as monumental. I'm just babbling. Point is, there are some really old drawings of mine. My first ever Inktober, so to speak, and they were the first things I ever posted on DA. And looking back, they were pretty terrible. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know why anyone followed me back then. Thank you guys that did, because without you I couldn't have gotten to where I am today, but, you know, why? So I'm going to be doing 5 of these, and this is the first one. I'm starting with day 2, because I decided to go in chronological order of what the days were. So, day's 2 prompt was flowing, and so I did a mermaid, which doesn't look very good, because, you know, it's younger me art style. And, yeah, so I decided to redraw this one, and as you can see, I've already adjusted her posing, because it's still very stiff. I wasn't sure how to fix that, because honestly I hated this pose to begin with, and I didn't really want to go too extreme when it comes to redoing the poses, at least not with this one, because it was the first one and I had other bigger grievances to work on, if that makes sense. The others I will adjust the poses more. Point is, grievances with this one, yeah, she looks like Undine. There's no way to avoid that. Yeah, younger me, I don't know if she was intending to make this an Undine mermaid, but I was very, very into Undertale at the time, so it's entirely possible that it is supposed to be an Undine mermaid. So, as you can see, I've adjusted just little bits of her, I added more of a frilly, little ear frill thing. I don't really know what that's called, because I thought that looked more interesting than just a little small one. I also made her tail slightly longer, and I gave her more fins, because I thought that would look better and less empty. She always looked kind of just simple and plain to me. And she still does look simple in the final product, but it's less simple, so it's a lot better. It's a different kind of simple. Speaking of other changes that I made with that kind of stuff, as you can see in the video, I originally decided to keep the original color palette that she had with the reds and the turquoise and the bluish, because I wanted not to stray too far from the original drawing. I just desaturated the color so that it looked slightly better. But then I realized that, yeah, it still looks like Undine, and that was the problem. So instead, I decided to swap that color palette out for this bluish, greenish, cool color palette, where it's blues and greens. I don't really know what else to say about that. And I thought that looked a lot better, because, well, if you can't tell from my art, I really like blues and greens and purples. I like jewel tones, so red is also a good color for me. I really like those ones. I don't know what that's about with me, but you know, we all have our preferences. And so I decided to do that, and then the metal breastplate was also a big change I made, because that one was always kind of awkward looking to me. I don't think I've ever seen an actual metal armor piece that only goes over one shoulder like that. I've seen the metal piece where it's just around the chest and then it has the leather strap over the shoulder. I think, yeah, I've seen that in various D&D stuff, but I've never seen that thing with the full metal. And I hated that because I thought it looks really awkward and awful. Also, you can't really see because I didn't show the original picture all that much, but I shaded it as if there was like cleavage almost right there, which doesn't make sense. It was almost like a crack. Like, it just looks really weird and not... Metal doesn't behave like that. It's not a fabric, and like it shouldn't... I don't know. Younger me was weird, and I don't know what that choice was. So I decided to get rid of like the full metal thing and just go for like a classic little like almost like a swimsuit top, but like made out of metal rather than, because I thought that would look better. It doesn't really match with like my visions of mermaids and like my stories, but like, you know, for the sake of the redraw, it works perfectly fine for me. And I also decided the little over the shoulder thing was fine, it just didn't look good as metal. So I did that as a drapey, like, not drapey, that's the wrong word, like a sheer sleeve, I don't know, whatever that's called, just like a little sheer thing so that it looks more interesting, I guess, because I didn't like the metal at all. I also decided to give her like the little metal cuffs as like bracelets because I thought, you know, bracelets always look good, and I just like little bracelets in complete honesty. As for like stuff like the markings, like, is that all I had to say about, yeah. Oh, I also had a little earring on her little frilly thing. Anyway, markings. So the original drawing had like, she had like blood tears that she was crying, and I don't know what younger me was thinking, because that looks weird. It doesn't make sense really to cry underwater unless your tears are like fresh water, which biologically I don't think ever occurs. But, you know, it's a mermaid, biologicalness is thrown out. But point is, it just looks weird. So instead I decided, because I liked the red, I just didn't like any of that. So I desaturated the color so it's more of like a dull burgundy, I don't know what that color is. And I did like little marking tear thingies, I don't know, like little drippy streaks, I don't know, I did markings on her instead of the tears, and I think that looks a lot better. She was also like bleeding out of her mouth, I don't really know what that's about. So I decided to give her just a faint like red lipstick because I thought that would look better than like the streakies right there, because they'd look kind of like a goatee. And I think her face looks good. As for the rest of the markings, she had like these tiger stripe little like just triangles. They're not even tiger stripes, they're not that detailed, they're just like little triangles on, I think her arms and her tail had them, and I didn't really like that because it just looked plain and kind of boring. So I decided to give the markings a lot more intricacy with like, I still kept the triangle design because I was like, you know what, I can't stray too far. But I gave it like this little like details, and it has like little, I don't really know what to call them, but it just looks better. And so there was also the tail originally, like the little tail fin part had like a slight like bluish gradient to a darker color, I believe. I think that was in the original. It looks kind of messy, so I might not be interpreting whatever younger me was doing right. But so I decided to keep that and give it like the light blue to darker blue gradient on all of the little fins that I gave her, because I thought the extra fins looked better. So, but I also removed, because there was like the black, or I think dark blue actually, lines that kind of went through the tail, and those didn't really look good, and I didn't really want to mess with those, so I just cut them out completely because I thought that looks much better in my opinion. And so we have that. I also switched out the, like, I made her webbing at her fingertips transparent as well. I don't know why I didn't do that with like the fin, but I didn't, and it's too late now. Also, I gave her claws because if you've noticed with my mermaids, I tend to go a little bit more, I don't know what's the word for it, but like they're more clawy, spiky. So I decided claws just because they'd fit in with my version of mermaids where they're kind of scarier. And so I also, along that same vein, the original, I just had her open mouth, and it was kind of just a black void. In this version, I actually gave her sharper teeth, because I thought that would look a lot better and make her mouth look more full, and less just black void-ish. And so, yeah. I decided to shade the entire thing with like this bluish color because in the original I didn't really have shading at all. Like it's there, but it's not good shading because younger me did not understand how light worked or how light sources worked at all. I still don't understand great, but I am getting better, so my improvement is definitely noticeable with this. And I also decided, just because I shaded it with the blue and that kind of dulled it down, and so I gave it little highlights of like, I think whitish that I did, so it just looks a little bit more there, if that makes sense. I also, one of the issues was like, the background was kind of bland because it was just a blue gradient. And I decided to adjust that. It's still basically just a blue gradient, but it looks a little bit better because I've got the light spot up in the corner. It's supposed to be like the surface far away. It looks kind of better. I don't know. It's better, but at the same time, it's not like super different. That's a bad description. I originally intended, because this piece, because you'll notice I gave her an anglerfish, like little like thingy, which I did not have in the original. I thought it just looked more interesting. So I decided for this piece, sorry if there's clapping noises, I talk with my hands and I'm clapping with my hands right now because I'm doing gestures. That's probably not a good thing to have on recording. Anyway, where was I? The anglerfishy thing. Yeah. So because of that, I was originally intending to do this picture in like the deep sea or like the midnight zone. And the title of the piece, which I have it in my files, I think I'm titling it that on DA2, is The Abyss, which reflects that. But the problem is that background down there is just pitch black because there's no light whatsoever. And that's kind of boring, so inaccurate background, but that's completely okay. It's a mermaid, we don't care. So I also decided that in the original her eyes glowed ever so slightly, and it looked terrible, but So I decided to keep that glow and do the anglerfish little thingy glowing as well. And I think it looks a lot better now. You guys will have to, well, you don't have to, but I hope you guys like it and see how much I've improved. I really could not have gotten this far without oh, there we go. Clapped my chest again because I'm excited and I'm making noises. Anyway, I really could not have gotten this far without you guys. So, just thank you so much for enabling me to do this. I really never thought I'd get to 350 people who follow me for my artwork. That's really super cool, and I'm grateful that I was even able to do this with all of this. So, yeah. Hope you guys liked this. There will be 4 more of these that I'm doing, and if you guys think this was a good idea and or entertaining to watch, I've got a few more redraws that I can record me doing. If you guys like this kind of thing, I can also just give me a topic and I'll talk about it for 15 minutes, I guess, and have a speed paint in the background. I don't know. Yeah. So thank you guys so much. I hope you like it. Here's the finished product versus the original, so here you go. See ya.